to exchange ideas and to examine the work of a 10th National Assembly over the past 3 years. That invitation in itself is a demonstration of confidence that accountability strengthens institutions, that dialogue does enrich democracy, and that openness deepens public trust. The conversations ahead will examine issues that speak directly to the future of our republic: legislative oversight, national.
Hello and welcome to NTA's live telecast of the opening ceremony of the National Assembly Open Week 2026. The National Assembly Open Week is an initiative designed to deepen citizens' participation in the legislative process and also to showcase the achievements and impact of the House of Representatives over the past 3 years. The theme for this year's NASS Open Week 2026 is 3 years of the 10th Assembly, advancing transparency, inclusion and reform. My name is Mitaire Ikben, and I welcome you on behalf of NTA's outside broadcast crew to this live telecast. Seated in the hallowed chamber of the House of Representatives are a cross-section of Nigerians from various walks of life who have been invited as Parliament has thrown open its doors to the public, and Nigerians will be interacting with lawmakers on issues that affect them as well as issues of national importance. In the course of the National Assembly Open Week, there will be an unveiling of the 3-year legislative scorecard of the House of Representatives. We will also have, in the course of the week, National Security and Traditional Rulers Roundtable, where the royal fathers will interact with lawmakers on matters of security. There will also be a national dialogue on the Electoral College model for the Special Seats Bill for women and persons with disabilities. The National Assembly Open Week will also feature a legislative business breakfast meeting between legislators and members of the private sector. There will also be a youth town hall in the course of the Open Week. The National Assembly has invited civil society organizations, development partners, the diplomatic community, the media, youth and women groups, persons with disabilities, professional bodies, the academia, of course the private sector, and other interested stakeholders who are seated in the hallowed chamber for this opening ceremony.
Everyone, and Mr. Speaker, the Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, GCON, Inyanzazal, allow me to stand on the established protocol by our good friend, and I know we have a long list of goodwill messages, so spare me. Now, in the ninth house, when Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, now Chief of Staff to Mr. President, was Speaker, we did everything to democratize discourse and to show clearly that this House was a joint task irrespective of political parties, ethnic inclination, or regional proclivity. And I think we did very, very well. But under Tajuddin Abbas, we decided to build on Femi Gbajabiamila's legacy. Now, it is not just a joint task, but it is now the people's house. And our goal was to demonstrate to Nigerians that politics is not just about political parties and elections. It is about the people. It is about opening up political spaces, about democratizing conversations. It's about inclusion, and it is about showing that parliamentarians, irrespective of party or where they come from, can have a common purpose, a common focus, a common direction. And I think so far, even if we have to beat our own drums, we are on track, and we are doing very well. Most Nigerians believe it's only when there is filaga, filogo. Apologies to Obayagbon. When there is a fight, we are throwing chairs, we are insulting each other. That is when the house is working. We are trying to demonstrate that nothing could be further from the truth. You don't have to fight to make progress. You don't have to quarrel. You can disagree, but within the limits of our rules and the Constitution. So this is what this house is about, and we're very happy to see the array of personalities and dignitaries that have come here this morning. We thank you for leaving whatever your responsibilities are today and coming to join us in this place on the NASS Open Week. This is an innovation. It's not the first time, it's not the second, but the third. And in each one, our goal is to show that we are not a secret court. There is nothing hidden in this house. Our offices are open. Our members are ready to engage, to discuss issues of democracy, democratization, and to show that it's only when you have a sense of history, a sense of nation, and a sense of mission that you can forge a collective purpose and direction for national growth and development. So on behalf of Mr. Speaker, the leadership of the House, thank you for being here, and I assure you that when we unveil our scorecard, said, reflect what we have achieved so far. Once again, I thank you here with us. Thank you.
Honorable Professor Julius Hilberry, CON, the Majority Leader, House of Representatives. Thank you for that welcome remarks. Your Excellencies, I'd like to warmly recognize the President, Nigeria Bar Association, Mazi Afam Osigwe, SAN. Thank you for being here. And talking about the legal profession, our next speaker is a lawyer, a human rights activist, a voice to be reckoned with when it comes to questioning accountability and transparency in governance. Please allow me to welcome Mr. Clement Nwankwo, Executive Director, Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, for his goodwill message.
Your Excellency, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Your Excellencies, honorable members, distinguished guests, I will stick with already established protocol, and I will, Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, start by joining in congratulating particularly the leadership of the House of Representatives for an open week should be an affirmation that democracy flourishes, and that the legislature is open, accountable, and responsible to the people that it serves. As the National Assembly marks 3 years in office, that is the 10th National Assembly, it is appropriate to reflect on both its achievements and the work that remains unfinished. The Assembly has demonstrated commitments in several important areas, including the ongoing constitutional review process, efforts to modernize legislative procedures, consideration of key electoral and governance reforms, increased use of digital platforms, and greater engagement with citizens and civil society. It has also shown resilience in responding to emerging national challenges Citizens expect, rightly so, from their legislature much more. They expect stronger and more independent oversight of the executive, more timely consideration of critical national issues, greater transparency in legislative business, broader public participation in the work that the National Assembly do, reforms that directly improve governance, security, opportunity, and social justice. The legislature is at its strongest, not when it agrees with the executive, but when it faithfully discharges its constitutional duty to scrutinize executive resources and ensure that government remains accountable to the people. The jury is out there as to how this 10th National Assembly has performed. Certainly across the country, there is great worry about the situation of the citizens. Is questionable, and it's how much society. As the 10th National Assembly enters the final phase of its term, to concluding the constitutional amendment process in a manner that reflects both, particularly the passage of critical bills, and one of those for special seats bill for women, or special seats for women bill. Strengthening legal framework for credible elections, it's still an issue. Advancing reforms that deepen inclusion, including greater representation of women and other historically underrepresented groups. Improving transparency in legislative operations, and ensuring that oversight functions are rigorous, evidence-based, and focused for citizens. For more than 15 years, PLAC has worked alongside the National very objectives. We have supported institutional strengthening through technical assistance to committees, research and policy analysis, legislative drafting, legislators and staff, capacity building initiatives, public hearings that improve access to legislative information. Through our bills, PLAC has done quite a lot, including the PLAC Bills Track platform, the legislative repository, policy briefs, scorecards, and publications. We have sought to make the National Assembly more accessible to citizens and strengthen more access for citizen making. We have also worked extensively with other civil society organizations, the media and development partners to promote informed citizen engagement with legislative processes. Our support has always been guided by one principle: a legislature that is strong and strengthens our democracy. Because without democracy, and indeed reverts to non. Would like to see a National Assembly that is stronger, that holds the executive to account in very strong manner. It looks at this time that this is not exactly what is, and citizens are very, very concerned about what appears to be some drift in society, particularly protection of our democracy. Nigeria's democratic reform or future will depend in no small measure on the effectiveness of the National Assembly in carrying out its responsibilities, as I have indicated. Where oversight is weak, corruption flourishes. Where representation is diminished, public trust declines. And I must say that public trust is declining very fast as we speak. But when the legislature performs its constitutional functions with courage, independence, and integrity, democracy is strengthened and citizens' confidence in government grows. As we look ahead, PLAC reaffirms its commitment to continue partnering with the National Assembly in promoting legislative activities and work, participation, and democratic accountability. We believe that National Assembly is inseparable from this success of our democracy. And it is so very important that we continue to support the National Assembly to deliver on citizens' expectations of it. I would like to thank, and I do have, see the High Commissioner of the British High Commission, who is here, Dr. Richard Montgomery. I do see the Ambassador of the European Union and several other development partners who have worked with PLAC to support the work that we are doing in National Assembly. Would like to thank them. Finally, I do congratulate the leadership of the National Assembly for convening this opening week and encourage all stakeholders to continue working together to build a legislature that is transparent, inclusive, accountable, and firmly anchored in the service of the Nigerian people. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Would like to appreciate you, Mr. Clement Nwankwo, but would like to also plead with other speakers that will be given the opportunity to come to the podium here to deliver a remark of goodwill, to please do us the honor of resting on the already established protocol for want of time. And every speaker that will be speaking by way of giving us his or her goodwill will please be allotted only 3 minutes. And the speaker has also directed that we please inform everybody to please rest on the established protocol for want of time. The Speaker, Kogi State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Yusuf Umar. Speaker, Zamfara State, Right Honorable Biliamino Ismaila Moriki. Speaker, Jigawa State, Right Honorable Haruna Aliyu Dangiating. And Speaker, Plateau State, Right Honorable Daniel Nanlong, and other speakers of state assemblies. We welcome you.
Your Excellencies, our next speaker for his goodwill message is a man who is driving reforms in the health sector, ensuring there is effective implementation. I'm talking about the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, CON, for his goodwill message. Please, a round of applause for him.
The Right Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, PhD, GCON, may I seek your permission to stand on the existing protocol for want of time. Let me begin by thanking you, Mr. Speaker, and all the principal officers of the National Assembly and leadership of the National Assembly for convening this National Assembly Open Week 2026 and for bringing us all together to reflect on the successes that have been accomplished in the 3 years of the 10th Assembly. And the topic that you've chosen is quite timely, focusing on advancing transparency, inclusiveness, as well as reform in our national journey. I want to congratulate the National Assembly for your steadfastness, for your focus, and for the rigor with which you exercise your constitutional mandate over the last 3 years. You've got many major important reforms, strengthen citizen engagement, and foster stability in our democratic journey. I want to start also by acknowledging that at the outset of the 10th Assembly, this country, I believe, had significant issues that were on the ground. In 3 years' time, I think we have seen move towards healing, unifying, and inspiring this country in line with the renewed hope agenda of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The exemplary leadership and the collaboration with the executive, I believe, sets an important foundation for continued progress, for charting a way forward for this country towards a prosperous, peaceful future. The consensus building that you have forged, I believe, will encourage the Nigerian polity to beg. I thank you, I congratulate you for your leadership, and congratulate all the members of the National Assembly for their excellent collaboration with the executive. Thank you very much.
Many thanks for goodwill. I'd like to, at this point in time, introduce our next goodwill message that will be delivered. Our next personality is a statesman whose public service has traversed all three arms of political leadership: law, legislation, and executive governance. As Speaker of the 9th House of Representatives, he championed consensus building, institutional reforms, and productive partnership between the legislature and current capacity as Chief of Staff to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He continues to serve the heart of government, providing strategic coordination in support of the renewed hope agenda of our dear President. Please, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, join me in warmly receiving the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Femi Akim Gbajabiamila, CFR, Chief of Staff to the President of Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you for that applause. I think I understand why. God bless you all. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, allow me, as instructed, to stand on the protocol as established. I am delighted to join you at the 2026 National Assembly Open Week. I bring warm greetings from His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and congratulate the leadership and members of the 10th National Assembly for sustaining this important platform for public engagement. Now, returning to the National Assembly is always deeply personal for me. This is not merely a place where I once served. It is an institution that shaped my understanding of public duty.
Facilitate this for current.
That shaped my understanding of
projects. With the teeming population.
democracy works best when citizens can see it, when citizens can understand it and participate in it. The theme that you have chosen, 3 years of the 10th Assembly, advancing transparency, inclusion, and reform, speaks directly to the foundations of a credible legislature. Transparency turns constitutional authority into public trust. Inclusion ensures that voices of our diverse people are not only heard, but reflected in national priorities. Reform keeps our institutions responsive to changing realities and capable of delivering better outcomes. An open week must therefore be more than the ceremonial opening of the gates of Parliament. It should be an invitation to scrutiny, dialogue, and partnership. Citizens should be able to follow how laws are made, understand how public resources are appropriated, and see how legislative oversight protects the national interest. Equally, the legislature must continue to hear from young Nigerians, hear from the women, hear from persons with disabilities, civil society, the private sector, professional bodies, and communities across the Federation. Having had the privilege of serving as Speaker of the House of Representatives, I understand the weight of the gavel and the difficult task of reconciling competing interests in a manner that preserves unity and advances the common good. I therefore commend the President of the Senate, His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio, GCON, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, His Excellency Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, GCON, the principal officers, and all members of the 10th National Assembly for their service and for the reforms undertaken thus far. Now, while the executive and the legislature are separate arms of government, they share one ultimate mandate, which is to improve the lives of the Nigerian people. Constructive cooperation does not diminish legislative independence, nor does robust debate amount to institutional conflict. Our democracy is strengthened when both arms engage with mutual respect, constitutional fidelity, and a clear focus on results. As we reflect on the first 3 years of the 10th Assembly, I encourage us to look beyond the record of activities to the measure of impact, laws that solve real problems, budgets that translate into visible development, oversight that improves performance, and representation that renews citizens' confidence in government. The Presidency remains committed to a productive relationship with the National Assembly in pursuit of security, economic renewal, social justice, and shared prosperity under the Renewed Hope agenda. Nigerians expect their institutions to work together. I congratulate once more the 10th National Assembly and all partners who have made this open week possible. I especially congratulate the Speaker of the House and his leadership for putting this together consistently. This is what democracy is all about. May this gathering deepen public trust, strengthen democratic accountability, and remind us all that public office is above all a public trust. Let the conversations that will be had here over the next 3 days be candid. May the questions be rigorous and the responses clear. Most importantly, let us work together across government to ensure the lessons and recommendations from this open week find expression in future legislative priorities and in stronger mechanisms for sustained citizen engagement. I wish you all fruitful deliberations and a successful 2026 National Assembly Open Week. Thank you. May God bless you, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
I think he deserves another round of applause. This is a man who advanced legislature during his tenure in the 9th House of Representatives as Speaker. All right, Your Excellencies, highly distinguished guests. Our next speaker is one who believes that through research, innovation, and strategic partnerships, supporting the National Assembly, of course, we can build a legislature that is responsive. Okay.
We'd like to interrupt the next goodwill by having to welcome into these hallowed chambers His Excellency, the President of the Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly, His Excellency, Distinguished Senator Dr. Godswill Obot Akpabio, GCON, Ukwa Akwa Ibom. We welcome you, Your Excellency. Please be seated. Your Excellency, just before your arrival, the National Assembly Open Week 2026 had actually commenced with the theme 3 years of the 10th Assembly Advancing Transparency, Inclusion and Reforms. We have actually started. The welcome remarks was delivered by the Leader of the House of Representatives, Honorable Professor Julius Ihonwere. And after that, we have taken a few goodwill messages, including that one from the Chief of Staff to the President of Nigeria, who just delivered his goodwill before you stepped into the hallowed chambers. We're at the verge of inviting another distinguished Nigerian, for his goodwill.
Your Excellencies, permit me to welcome the Executive Secretary, the Pioneer Executive Secretary of the National Assembly Library Trust Fund, Right Honorable Henry Waoba. Please, a round of applause for him.
Thank you very much. The President, the uncommon President of the Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly, distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, our dear Speaker of the 10th House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, PhD, Ian Zazau. For lack of time, I would like to also follow the instruction and rest on the existing and well-established protocols. I'd like to start by expressing how I feel every time I return to these hallowed chambers. Having served for 2 terms from 2015 to 2023, I must say that it is with a deep sense of nostalgia every time I stand here and I see the men and women that we served Nigeria together under the joint task mantra in the 8th and the 9th Assembly. Mr. Speaker, I also want to join those that have spoken before me to congratulate this House for consistently and repeatedly opening up the doors of the House of Representatives to Nigerians to interrogate all those commitments that were made at the outset of the 10th House of Representatives via the legislative agenda that was released to Nigerians and all the legislative interventions that have happened between the past 3 years till date. I must say that this is quite commendable. It is a step in the right direction, and I do sincerely encourage the House to keep up the good work. The year's theme of this open week for this year, 3-year scorecard of the 10th Assembly, does indeed reflect the commitment of the leadership and members of the National Assembly, particularly the House of Representatives, to transparency, to accountability, to citizens' engagement and democratic governance. And more importantly, the open week provides an opportunity for Nigerians to evaluate the progress made in the 10th National Assembly, appreciate its legislative milestones, and strengthen the relationship between Parliament and the people it serves. You will recall that 2 years ago, we set out at the National Assembly Library when we were commissioned by Mr. President himself to bridge the gap between legislative process and the public to establish a world-class knowledge repository. Today, the National Assembly Library has grown into a leading center for legislative memory and public engagement. In this time, we have over 1 million website visitors every week to our website. We have more than 20,000 media subscribers with a combined social media reach exceeding more than 1.5 million Nigerians and a global audience. We have 8,534 legislative materials that we have digitized to date, preserving invaluable parliamentary resources. We have more than 7,000 library resources. They are all now accessible to researchers, to legislators, and students, and of course, the general public. We have more than 3,100 visitors that we have hosted. They have utilized our facilities and we have nearly 1,000 active users utilizing our Bill Tracker platform to date. Over 535,928 physical library visitors from across Nigeria and beyond have visited our library. We have more than 100 policy-oriented research papers that were published and over 100 museum artifacts that you can see that we have preserved for our parliamentary records and democratic heritage. To crown it all, the official publication of the National Assembly, which is the Legislative Digest, has been revived with over 3,500 copies that have been distributed. Today, I'm pleased to announce to this House that over the course of this open week, we shall be launching our mobile app, which I hope Chimdi is able to project on the wall, so that we can see what we have put together for Nigerians to make what we do in Parliament easier to reach. It is going to be available on the iOS and the Android platforms, and through that, you can easily access our bill trackers, our e-library, our library catalog, instant registration to use the library, direct legislator access, real-time news, and many more. Over the past 2 years, the National Assembly Library has cultivated strategic partnerships and organized impactful capacity building programs, policy and legislative dialogues with both the Senate and the House of Representatives, and several other engagements. Our vision is clear: to build a world-class parliamentary knowledge institution that serves legislators, researchers, policymakers, students, and development partners, and indeed all Nigerians that seek credible legislative information. I express our profound appreciation to the leadership of the National Assembly for their steadfast support, especially the President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, who spent over 3 hours with me in the library the day he visited, and of course, to the Ian Zazao himself, the Speaker of the 10th House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, PhD, GCON, for their visionary leadership and commitment to strengthening our democratic institutions and supporting the library. I also acknowledge our distinguished legislators, the clerk to the National Assembly, the management staff of the National Assembly, development partners, and the media, civil society organizations, and all stakeholders indeed, whose collaborations have continued to immensely contribute to our success. I wish us a productive open week, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Executive Secretary, Pioneer Executive Secretary, National Assembly Library Trust Fund, Honorable Henry Nwauba. Very quickly, I'd like to recognize the presence of distinguished Senator Dr. Tony Ngoye. We welcome you. Minority Leader of the Senate, distinguished Senator Abba Moro, PhD, we also welcome you. And we'd like to welcome our brother, Ambassador Dakpo Oyewole, the Secretary General, Conference of Speakers and President of African Legislature. We welcome you very profoundly to today's event. Your Excellency, the Common President of the Senate, Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, strong democracies are enriched through enduring partnerships found on mutual respect, shared values, and a collective commitment to peace, prosperity, and good governance. Our next distinguished guest represents one of Nigeria's longest-standing development partners, a nation whose collaboration with Nigeria spans democratic governance, education, security, trade, and institutional development. Please join me in welcoming His Excellency Dr. Richard Montgomery, the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, as he delivers his goodwill message. Please, a warm round of applause for him as he steps down. Again, we are allotting only 2 minutes. Please be mindful of that. and please stay on the existing protocol. Thank you.
Mr. Senate President, Mr. Speaker, as the maitre d' has said, please allow me to stand on established protocol. But let me start by saying it's such a pleasure to be with you here today, and it's a great honor to be invited, and I'd like to thank the leadership of the House for the invitation. And as noted by previous speakers, this open week, it's a real opportunity for elected representatives, for citizens, for civil society, for institutions to come together in a place where Nigeria's most consequential national issues are debated and made. And by opening your doors to citizens and partners, the National Assembly sends an important message that democracy is strongest when people are able to engage with those who represent them, when institutions are transparent, and when citizens can see and indeed shape the decisions that affect their lives. And of course, the National Assembly is absolutely central to Nigeria's democratic journey. And your strength, your credibility and responsiveness matter deeply, not only for the functioning of the government, but for public trust in democracy itself. Now, I know, having had the honor to represent the United Kingdom here for the last 3 days, that democracy has traveled a hard path in Nigeria. And I'm fully aware of how democratic practice has been shaped by struggle, by sacrifice, by resilience, by public action and debate, and the determination of citizens of this country to shape their own future. And clearly, democracy is not one single event. It is a process, one that must be nurtured, it must be protected, and it must be renewed. And the process, of course, includes building strong democratic institutions, but it also includes upholding democratic principles and behaviors. And it includes protecting civic space and ensuring the regular participation and voice of citizens at the heart of national life. And this is why the work of the National Assembly matters so much. Every debate, every public hearing, every act of oversight, every effort to ensure lawmaking is made more inclusive and transparent contributes to the democratic compact between your citizens and the state. As Nigeria looks forward to the general elections in 2027, this compact becomes ever more important. Elections are the cornerstone of democratic life. They are the milestones in your democratic journey, indeed in any country's democratic journey. And they are the means through which citizens express their will, renew or not mandates, hold leaders accountable, and shape the future direction of their country. And of course, the credibility of the next elections will therefore be vital for public confidence in democratic institutions, vital for Nigeria's continued stability and progress, and vital indeed for investor confidence, and indeed for Nigeria's leadership in Africa, in the region and beyond in the world. So free, fair, peaceful and credible elections do not happen by chance. They require collective effort of many institutions, the electoral management body, the political parties, security agencies, the judiciary, civil society, media, and of course members of the National Assembly and state governments. But the National Assembly, of course, has a particularly important role, as you have underpinned by the passing of the Electoral Act of 2026. And through your legislation and oversight, the National Assembly and its members can strengthen the trust, improve transparency, support inclusion, and help ensure electoral outcomes are accepted by citizens as credible. Now, the United Kingdom is honoured and we're proud to stand alongside you in your journey. Our partnership is rooted, as the Master of Ceremonies said, in shared interest, in shared belief in democratic principles, and a shared belief that these principles are essential for Nigeria's progress, for your stability, for your prosperity and development. And in the run-up to the 2027 general elections, we will be alongside you. Our democracy programs will work in support, alongside other diplomatic partners who are represented here today, We will support INEC to help deliver efficient and credible polls. We'll support the National Assembly's legislative and oversight efforts. We'll support the judiciary and the work of the media and indeed civil society partners, such as the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room. So as your partner, we do not pretend that democracy is easy. Our own democracy has its imperfections. Democracy is something that needs to be renewed, nurtured, and it evolves over time. It requires patience, it requires reform, compromise, constructive debate, and the willingness of institutions to keep improving. So as I wrap up my goodwill message, allow me to commend the Speaker and the leadership and members of the House and indeed the whole National Assembly. And I'd also like to commend in particular the work of the Policy and Legal Advocacy Centre, or PLAC. Clement just spoke earlier. It's a key body that we have been very proud to support in recent years. So thank you, sir, again for bringing everyone together. We wish you well for this open week and continued success in your important work on behalf of the Nigerian people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Richard Montgomery, British High Commissioner to Nigeria. Your Excellencies, at this point, permit me to invite for his goodwill message the 32nd President of the Nigerian Bar Association, a refined gentleman, a distinguished leader, one who continues to advance the legal profession. Allow me to welcome Mazi Afam Josiah Osigwe, SAN.
You can play back. It's okay.
Mr. Speaker of the House of Reps, the President of the National Assembly, distinguished Senator Goswill Ababu, may I adopt the already established protocol. We're always delighted to be part of any process where a body like this opens itself up to accountability. Where a body like this presents a scorecard to the nation, it is a way of saying, judge us by the work we have done, and let us get your feedback. And it is to that extent that the NBA is delighted to be part of this process. We always remind ourselves that members of the legislature, and indeed some members of the executive, are representatives of the people. When you gather here to make laws, you do so on our behalf. And in doing this, it is expected that you'll always remember that the Constitution enjoins you to remember that the security and welfare of people shall be the primary aim of government. Thus, laws made by the legislature must always ensure that the protection of the security of the people counts a lot. And it is to that extent that the presentation of this scorecard will enable the general public to be able to assess the work you have done. While some persons may think that the best lawmaking houses are the ones that are embroiled in squabbles and fight, the important thing is not the process, how you get there, but the quality of the work we have done. And we believe that collectively and with determination, and bearing in mind the expectations of the Nigerian people who expect you to make laws that improve their lot, ensure that the commonwealth of the people is managed effectively for the betterment of the society. We'll continue to look up to the House, and when the scorecard is finally presented, we shall also study it with an aim to making suggestions where there is need and praising where the expectations of the people have been met. We congratulate you for running a House that continues to strive for a better Nigeria and to ensure that the citizens really look up to the politicians for a better society. Thank you so very much for allowing me these few minutes. God bless all of us.
Thank you very much. Please, can we have another resounding applause for all our speakers thus far? Thank you very, very much. Our very next distinguished guest to speak from this podium is a very highly respected diplomat and a valued partner in our shared pursuit of cooperation and development. I'd like you to please join me as I welcome His Excellency Ambassador Greta Minot, the EU Ambassador to Nigeria, and with concurrent to the ECOWAS countries. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him with a very resounding applause as he makes his way here for his goodwill. Whilst you make your way here, let me also recognize the presence of distinguished Senator Osita Izunaso, PhD. You're welcome, sir. Ambassador Minot.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, Your Excellency, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, honorable members, distinguished guests. First, let me commend the National Assembly and its leadership for this exercise of direct democracy, during which the House of the People opens its doors to citizens and listens to their voices. And we are glad and proud as the European Union to support you in this event, as we do in many areas of your work, because of partnership is second to none, in particular when it comes to democracy. And in approximately 6 months, it will be again the turn to citizens to express themselves, but this time through the ballot paper. Around the world, many eyes will turn towards Nigeria. Millions of young Nigerians will vote for the first time, perhaps wondering if their vote will count. And all of them, all of us, count on Nigeria to give an example of democracy in these 2027 elections, on a level playing field with inclusive and peaceful elections. Over the last year, the EU has continued supporting the National Assembly and other stakeholders, in particular INEC and civil society, to improve rules and management of elections, based in particular on the recommendations made by our European Observation Mission after the 2023 election. A lot has been done, and there is certainly still room for improvement. This work will continue, including after the elections. And in 2027, the EU is again ready to support Nigerian elections with expertise through an electoral mission responding to INEC's kind invitation. Tomorrow afternoon, this Open Week, will have the opportunity to discuss what is still a pending duty, how to improve women's representation and representation of people, of persons with disabilities in the National Assembly and in state houses. Because equality on paper, equality in theory, is not real equality. Nigerians must find their own way to stop lagging behind in international rankings of women's representation. Nigerians' vocation is to lead, to show the example, not to lag behind. Millions of Nigerian women, but also men, are waiting for this, and I'm sure that rather sooner than later, the National Assembly and state houses will deliver. The National Assembly's work extends, of course, to many other legislative areas, but also to the discussion, adoption, and oversight of the federal budget. And allow me to draw your kind attention to a key topic. This morning, I was at a very important workshop on the so-called humanitarian transition, in which Nigerian actors and international donors are discussing how the federal and state governments will progressively take over the responsibilities to fund the urgent humanitarian needs of the most vulnerable, which until today still rely very much on international donors. The National Assembly's role will be crucial along state houses to make available regular, predictable, and sufficient appropriations in order to meet the humanitarian needs of the country on one hand and fund reliable social protection systems on the other hand. And here again, you can count on the EU to assist you in this cause, certainly one of the most important challenges facing Nigeria today. And the same is true for security and peace building, which we know is a concern for citizens and an important part of this three-day agenda. The EU is stepping up its effort in this area, so essential for the future of Nigeria, to join your efforts to dedicate more resources to this national priority. We know that your achievements in Nigeria will have a positive impact for us in Europe. We know that our stability depends also on yours, and we know that our democracies will grow together. I wish you a fruitful and productive Open Week, advancing transparency, inclusion, and reform. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Gauter Mignot, the head of European Union delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS. And allow me to use this time to say thank you to the EU for the consistent support across all strata of governance. At this point, Your Excellencies, permit me to kindly welcome the Chairman, Conference of Speakers of State Legislatures of Nigeria, and Speaker, Delta State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Dennis Goa. Please, a round of applause for him.
Your Excellency, Senator Godswill Hobart Akpabio, the Uncommon Senate President of the 10th Senate of Nigeria, Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, the Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, Your Excellencies, let me stand on the already established protocol. On behalf of the Conference of Speakers of State Legislatures of Nigeria, I extend our sincere appreciation to the leadership of the National Assembly for inviting the conference to participate in the 2026 National Assembly Open Week. This commendable initiative has become an important platform for promoting openness, transparency, accountability, and meaningful citizen engagement in the legislative process. It reflects our shared commitment to strengthening democratic governance by bringing Parliament closer to the people itself. As partners in Nigeria's legislative and constitutional architecture, the National Assembly and the State Houses of Assembly share a common responsibility to enact responsive laws, strengthen democratic institutions, and advance good governance. The National Assembly Open Week is a timely reminder that strong democratic institutions are built on openness, accountability, and meaningful engagement between elected representatives and citizens they serve. By fostering dialogue and encouraging greater public participation in the legislative process, these initiatives strengthens our democracy and deepens public confidence in our legislative institutions. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, insecurity remains the greatest challenge confronting our nation today. While effective legislation and sound public policy are indispensable, lasting solutions require sustained engagement with the people and stronger collaboration among governments, legislations, security agencies, traditional institutions, civil society organizations, development partners, and local communities. Security is a shared responsibility, and through collective action, we can build a safer and more peaceful nation. The ongoing constitutional amendment process presents a historic opportunity to strengthen our federation and improve governance. In this regard, the Conference of Speakers commend His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for his steadfast commitment to addressing Nigeria's security challenges through institutional reforms. We equally commend the leadership and members of the National Assembly for their vision, patriotism, and unwavering commitment to the ongoing constitutional deliberation on state policing and devolution of power. These efforts reflect a genuine determination to strengthen our federal system and build a more secure, responsive, and effective governance structure for our country. If adopted and faithfully implemented, these constitutional reforms have the potential to strengthen Nigeria's security architecture, improve intergovernmental coordination, bring governance closer to the people, and reinforce the principles of true federalism envisioned by our Constitution. The Conference of Speakers stands ready to continue working closely with the National Assembly, the Presidency, and all relevant stakeholders, including the NGF, to ensure that these reforms ultimately serve the best interests of the Nigerian people. As constitutional partners in this important national endeavor, we remain committed to supporting reforms that deepen our democracy, strengthen our institutions, promote peace and security, and advance sustainable national development. Once again, I congratulate the leadership of the National Assembly for sustaining this laudable initiative and wish all participants fruitful and productive deliberations. Together, let us continue to strengthen our democratic institutions, secure our nation, and build a federation that truly serves the aspiration of every Nigerian. A secure Nigeria requires not only strong institutions, but also strong partnership founded on trust, collaboration, and active citizen participation. Thank you for your kind attention, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much. The Speaker, Delta State House of Assembly, who also stands as the Chairman, Conference of Speakers of State Legislatures, would like to thank you and members of your colleagues from the state assemblies that are here. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for brevity of time, would like to go straight and plead with those that will be inviting at this point to please do us the honor of restricting themselves to just 2 minutes. We're far behind schedule. We have yet another activity that is waiting for us. We're yet to take the overview, and we are also going to be migrating from here as soon as we're done from the chambers to the National Assembly Library for the continuation of today's Open Week programs. In the light of that, please, I'd like to invite our partners, the representative of IDEA and the representative of Yoga Africa, to please step down to where I'm standing very quickly, as I also invite, without much ado, just making his way in here, a comrade, a human rights activist, and a defender of the common people. Please join me in welcoming Senator Shehu Sani, comrade, to please come to the microphone immediately for your goodwill message. Senator Shehu Sani, sir. Yes, sir. We're doing this with so much business-like approach. Kindly bear with us. He's just coming and we're inviting him to speak immediately. You have 2 minutes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, the Uncommon Senator Goodwill Fabio, Your Excellency, the Speaker, my brother, Tajuddin Abbas, Your Excellencies, the Deputy Senate President, the Deputy Speaker, other principal officers of the House, Your Excellency, invited dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. It is a honor and a pleasure once again to be invited to speak to this august gathering, an innovation that has provided Nigerians the platform to meet with their elected representative, to converse with them, to interact with them, and to have a first-hand experience of what is happening in the Nigerian Parliament. This is democracy at work, where the people are given the opportunity to see how their laws are made and how an important organ of the state is performing its function of performing the oversight on the issues of governance. Mr. President and Speaker, this idea is novel in the sense that since it started, it afforded Nigerians the opportunity to ask questions and to get answers. For those of us who are opportune to be in the Parliament, This is an important event in our lives. We will not be remembered by the laws we passed. We will not be remembered by the oversight functions we are able to perform. We will not be remembered by the fact that we won and we are here. We'll be most remembered by the positions we take on matters of controversy and issues that are sensitive to our nation. There are thousands that have been here and have left, and there will be more. In decades to come, we will not be here. Our children, our brothers, our siblings will be here. But they will remember us by the mark we make here. And I believe that each and every one of us is conscious of this fact. Nigeria is a great country, and we should be proud of it. Whenever people try to criminalize our country, you must raise your shoulder high and speak in the defense of the dignity and integrity of your country. And it is very factual that there is no nation on earth that has played a role in the freedom, the dignity, and the peace of humanity like Nigeria. During the First World War, Nigeria provided 46,000 troops to fight Hitler, to fight Mussolini of Italy, and to defeat Japanese imperialism in Southeast Asia. Fast forward after our independence, we were in the Congo, we were in Tanzania to restore peace and order in those nations. And in the struggle against apartheid colonialism, we have played a heroic role in providing support for freedom fighters in South Africa and providing material support for those who are in the front line, and Nigeria was tagged as a frontline state in that struggle. We have played a role in restoring peace and order in Sierra Leone and Liberia. Nigeria was a leading member in restoring peace in Somalia. We were in Darfur, and we have made our own mark in the struggle for independence of Angola under MPLA and Frelimo in Mozambique. For all that we have done for humanity, Nigeria has never asked for a dime, and we have never asked to be compensated. Tell me one country in the world that have made such sacrifices. Shall we sit down and see people from other parts of the world who colonized us, who bombed and killed millions of our people, calling us 419ers, calling us fraudsters, calling us drug lords? I don't think there is any country in the world that have made such sacrifices. Wherever you go, you should speak with pride, dignity, and honor that you are a citizen of a nation that has paid its price in the Committee of Nations. Mr. President and Speaker, you have a historic role and historic duty, like those before you, to leave your mark in the line of history by standing up for what is right and what is just. Sometimes politics made it impossible for us to say what we need to say. Sometimes politics makes it difficult for us to stand where we should stand. But truth remains the truth. This democracy that we have seen is a product of struggle and sacrifice. People were in the street protesting against military rule. People went to jail. Many were killed. This nation that you call a united nation today was a product of the life, struggle, and sweat of people who fought the Nigerian Civil War on both sides. We should know that whoever finds himself here has a historic duty to make his mark. It's not easy to be in the parliament because there will be so much expectations from you. Expectations from the family, expectations from friends who think you should enrich them, expectations from your constituency who are taxing you to do what you don't have the resources to do. That is the reality. There are people who come in here rich and go out here poor. There are people here whose life was made worse
by being in this place. It's the reality of life. Whatever it is, you must find your place. You must struggle within the turbulence and storm of Nigerian state to make your own impact, and that impact should be felt. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and God bless.
Thank you, and thank you very much indeed, Comrade Senator Shehu Sani. Our next goodwill is not just going to be a goodwill, it will be a goodwill plus royal blessings. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our royal father of the day, His Highness Ambassador Nuhu Bamali, CFR, the 19th Fulani Emir of Zazzau Emirate with headquarters in Zaria, Kaduna State. Is a diplomat par excellence, is a banker, public servant, lawyer, and board chairman of Industrial and General Insurance PLC. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me His Highness Ambassador Nuhu Bamali, CFR. Your Highness, sir.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The President of the Senate, His Excellency Godswill Akpabio, His Excellency the Speaker, House of Representatives, Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin Yenzozo, other principal officers of the National Assembly, ladies and gentlemen, let me especially recognize members of our community, the diplomatic corps, and also the traditional institution. Mr. President, I'm deeply honored to be here today at this important National Assembly Open Day. I warmly commend the leadership and members of the National Assembly for creating this platform of engagement, reflection, and public interaction. This initiative speaks to the core values that strengthen democracy: inclusiveness, transparency, accountability, good legislation, and good governance. These are not just ideals for discussion. They are pillars upon which trust between the people and their representatives is built. A legislature that is open to the people becomes stronger, more effective, and more responsive. When citizens are included in the lawmaking process, when they understand how decisions are made, and when they can see the work of their representatives clearly, democracy becomes meaningful. Public confidence grows when governance is not hidden, but visible and accessible. I therefore encourage the National Assembly to continue deepening public engagement, expanding consultations, and ensuring that voices of communities, traditional institutions, women, youth, and other stakeholders are heard in the legislative process. True representation is not only about speaking for the people, but also about listening to them. Good legislation is the foundation of national progress. Laws must be properly centered, must be people-centered, practical, fair, and capable of addressing the real challenges of our time. In doing this, it is important to learn an international best practices while always adapting them to our local realities, culture, and national priorities. A strong nation is one that governs with wisdom, foresight, and integrity. I also wish to emphasize the importance of accountability. Public office carries public trust. Every institution, especially those entrusted with lawmaking and oversight,
must remain accountable to the people. Accountability strengthens institutions, reduces mistrust, and promotes responsible leadership. As we reflect on the future of our democracy, let us all remember that governance is a shared responsibility. The legislature, the executive, and judiciary, traditional institutions, civil society, and the citizenry all have important roles to play in building peaceful, just, and prosperous nations. May I therefore commend this open day as a noble and timely initiative. I urge you all to use this opportunity to strengthen dialogue, promote understanding, and renew our collective commitment to national development. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Highness Ambassador Ahmad Nuhu Bamali, CFR, the Emir of Zazao. Thank you very much. Indeed, traditional institutions play a strategic role in promoting good governance. Your Excellencies, allow me to please recognize in our midst the board member of the Governing Council, Babangida No Center for Women Development, Lois Auta, and also the Foreign Network of Women with Disabilities. Thank you for being here. I see you from behind. Of course, you know this 10th legislature continues to push for priorities concerning persons with disabilities. At this point, Your Excellencies, allow me to welcome another voice when it comes to ensuring that the religious body have a say in promoting good governance. His Eminence, John Cardinal Onaikon, the Archbishop Emeritus of the Catholic Archdiocese of Abuja. Please, resounding applause for him.
I thank the organizers for thinking of inviting me to this wonderful occasion. We have to do away with protocols. So, at least let me say good afternoon, dear Nigerians, fellow citizens, and friends of Nigeria. My goodwill message will be very brief. I'm trying to keep within the 3 minutes that they are talking about. I will speak first, the importance of this legislature. Secondly, a plea to the members of the National Assembly. And finally, a prayer, which is what I am good at doing. First, the legislature is the heart of the three arms of a democratic government, the other two being the executive and the judiciary. While military dictatorship can pretend to have an executive arm of government to which they manage to co-opt the judiciary, there is no way it can pretend to have a legislature. If democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people, the legislature represents the people and cannot abdicate that popular role nor betray that sacred trust. Secondly, my plea, I have a passionate plea to the members of the National Assembly. Please, represent the people. Seek their mandate in a free and fair election to occupy these hallowed chambers. And while here, do the will of the people whom you claim to represent. Be a check on the executive on behalf of the people, guided by an independent and competent judiciary whose duty it is to guarantee the rule of law for our nation. And finally, let me do what I normally do, what I'm trained to do, prayer. I pray to the Almighty and merciful God to save, secure, and defend, protect our nation so that we can be indeed a prosperous, united nation under God. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We thank you, sir. He's learning to take a bow. Please, can we give him a round of applause as well? Thank you very much, Your Eminence, John Cardinal Onaikon. Your Excellency, the Uncommon President of the Senate, Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, the representative of the Governor of Delta State, or rather Governor of Akwa Ibom State, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The next goodwill message is going to be coming from the man who superintends over the National Assembly as a Chief Admin Officer and Accounting Officer, a barrister at law, a legal luminary of very high repute, a man who is also leading with very iconic steps. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Clerk to the National Assembly, Barrister Kamaru Ogunlana, for his goodwill message. CNA, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Director of Programs. Before I deliver my speech, let me first recognize the uncommon President of the Senate we have, His Excellency Senator Godswill Obot Akpabio, GCON. Let me equally recognize the Speaker of the House of Reps, His Excellency Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas. I would like to stand on the existing protocol as directed, but let me use this opportunity to recognize some members of the National Assembly family that are here. I would like to recognize all the former presiding officers who have squeezed time to attend this program. I would equally like to recognize all the former clerks that are here. At times, we don't seem to appreciate each other. I used to receive visitors from different countries. As a matter of fact, there is no month that goes by that I don't receive foreign delegation in Nigeria. The point I used to make that point that ours is one of the busiest and the biggest parliaments in the world. These two presiding officers you are seeing are the busiest public servants in Nigeria, outside the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. At times I used to wonder where they get their energy to serve, because the Senate President that I know don't sleep. And the energy the Speaker brings into this job, I don't know of any Speaker that have done so. Having said that, just to make that point, if you appreciate them, by extension, you are appreciating yourself. I would like to now go into my speech. I have a long speech, but I would like to bridge it. This week has the most important expression of parliamentary openness and democratic engagement in Nigeria. It demonstrates the commitment of the House of Representatives to ensuring that Parliament remains not merely an institution where laws are enacted, but one where the voices of citizens are heard, respected, and reflected in national decision making. The House of Representatives occupies a unique place within Nigeria's constitutional and democratic architecture. By its composition, with members elected from every federal constituency across the Federation, it is the broadest representation of Nigerian people and the arm of the National Assembly with the deepest grassroots reach. Its proximity and accessibility to citizens make it the first point of legislative engagement for millions of Nigerians and the institution through which local aspirations are translated into national policy and legislation. The 10th House of Representatives has continued to reinforce this unique identity, guided by a vision of a vibrant, inclusive, and people-centered speaker. It has expanded the scope of its committee system to strengthen oversight and stakeholder engagement. Consider an unprecedented number of public petitions, thereby providing citizens with greater access to legislative redress. Deliberate on numerous motions addressing pressing national issues and introduce a significant number of bills aimed at promoting economic growth, strengthening institutions, enhancing national security, advancing social welfare, and improving governance. These milestones reflect a House that is responsive, innovative, and firmly committed to serving the Nigerian people. Open Week provides an opportunity for the House to pause and reflect on its journey, celebrate its accomplishments, evaluate its challenges, and reaffirm its commitment to the ideals of representative democracy. More importantly, it creates a platform where legislative processes become more accessible and understandable to the citizen. It removes, although temporarily, the formal barrier of parliamentary procedure and opens the door of the People's House for direct interaction between members and those that they represent. It is through engagement such as this that democracy is strengthened. Citizens gain a better understanding of the legislative process, while members receive invaluable feedback that enriches representation, inform policy choices, and enhance legislative effectiveness. In an era where transparency, accountability, and public trust are indispensable to democratic governance, initiatives such as the Open Week demonstrate the Parliament's willing to listen, learn, and lead in partnership with the people. As the administrative head of the National Assembly, I commend the leadership of the House of Representatives under the able stewardship of the Right Honorable Speaker for institutionalizing this initiative and for continuously promoting a legislative agenda that is open, responsive, and accountable. I also acknowledge the invaluable contribution of our development partners, particularly those who have consistently supported efforts to deepen parliamentary democracy and citizens' engagement in Nigeria. I encourage all participants to engage actively in the discussion, exhibition, interactive session, and other activities lined up for this year's program. The ideas shared and relationship built during this Open Week will undoubtedly contribute to strengthening our parliament and consolidating our democracy. To conclude, On behalf of the National Assembly management, I will like to extend my sincere appreciation to the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, distinguished senators and honorable members, the Chief of Staff to the President, former presiding officers that are here, members of the diplomatic community in attendance, heads of ministries and departments that are here, our royal fathers, religious leaders, and representatives of the civil society organization, of course, the media and other esteemed participants for honoring this invitation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Clerk, National Assembly. Your Excellency, for brevity of time and to plead with you for your kind understanding, one of our partners has been here, and we'd just like to hear from them very briefly for just 1 minute before we invite the former presiding officer who will be speaking on behalf of all former presiding officers that are here. Let me very warmly invite Yetunde Bakari, Managing Programs Manager, Yaga Africa, to please come to the podium for just 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon. The President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Abbas Tijani, please allow me to start on the already established protocol. It is my pleasure on behalf of Yaga Africa to extend our warm congratulations to the leadership of the National Assembly for convening the 2026 National Assembly Open Week. This year's theme reflects the important role of the Parliament as an institution that not only makes laws, but also remains accountable to the citizens itself. By this convening, the National Assembly is reinforcing the principles of openness, transparency, and participatory democracy that are essential to democratic governance and further entrenching itself as the People's House. As a partner, we are proud to support this very important initiative through the European Union Support to Democratic Governance in Nigeria program. Our support for this Open Week reflects our belief that strong legislatures are indispensable to building a responsive, transparent, and accountable legislature, and importantly, people-centered democracy. We commend the 10th National Assembly for its consistency in creating a platform that allows citizens to better understand legislative processes, assess institutional performance, and engage meaningfully on issues that shape our nation's future. We urge the National Assembly to go beyond these conversations and strengthen its oversight functions, as there are increasingly growing concerns by citizens. And as the People's House, the National Assembly must ensure that indeed citizens can see, can feel that their interests are protected and the executive is held accountable. As we officially commence this year's Open Week, we hope that the deliberations here will produce practical recommendations and strengthen public confidence in the legislature. For us at Yaga Africa, we remain committed to conversations that put the people first and opportunities for citizen participation in governance. On behalf of Yaga Africa, I once again want to say congratulations to the leadership of the House for this convening. I wish us a successful and productive Open Week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, representative of Yaga Africa. Your Excellencies, our next speaker is a man who is known or recognized for his humility, his courage, his visionary leadership. I'm talking about the former governor of Katsina State and Speaker 5th House of Representatives, and also the Chairman Governing Board of TED Fund. Please allow me to welcome Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari, CFR.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, the Right Honorable Speaker, House of Representatives, members of the National Assembly that are here, permit me to stand on existing protocol for want of time. First, let us all thank our Creator for making it possible that today, not only are we celebrating the third year of the 10th Assembly, that we are celebrating 27 years of democracy. We started in this chamber in 1999, and we thank God that the chamber is still active and alive. To the subject matter of today, let me appreciate and congratulate the House for sustaining this National Open Week that gives opportunity for various groups to interact, to voice their opinion, and to make suggestions on the way forward. Also, congratulate this Assembly for being partners in the current economic and social and political reforms that the President has undertaken and is still undertaking right from 2023. You will appreciate that the reform has turned around Nigeria beyond what an ordinary person can see. But people, leaders like you, who have the vision of what the next 50 to 100 years will be, will understand the need for the current reform. So you congratulate yourselves for being part of it. Reforms are painful, certainly, but the benefit at the end of the day is enormous. Mr. Speaker, we're in the green chambers. The members, and luckily enough, the Senate President is here. I cannot conclude by not speaking on one issue that is topical in Nigeria today, which I hope you will do more, especially in this open week, to find out more ways, think of more ways, how can we restore normalcy within our communities in the rural areas. Security is a very important issue. And you, representatives of the people, you are doing a lot, the federal government and state governments are doing, but we need to do more. And we need to sensitize the people that security is not only the responsibility of government or people in authority, it's our collective responsibility. Every one of us, right from the last man in the village to the highest man, has a role to play. It is important to understand that this issue of insecurity, especially in some parts of the country has become an industry. So it requires massive sensitization of the populace to participate in addressing the issue of insecurity in this country. As we go into 2027 elections, for the next 6 months, we need to work harder than what we are doing today in order to make sure that a certain level of security is restored. There is no way you can have 100% security. It is impossible. Human nature, there is nothing 100%. But challenge is part of leadership. Without challenge, there will be no leadership. So let us together confront this issue and find a lasting solution to a manageable, tolerable, prosperous society in our country. Mr. Speaker, I know my colleagues will want you to thank you more, but I will stop here. We say we appreciate you very much, the leadership of the House, and the uncommon President of the Senate. We congratulate you. You are doing a good job, so please keep it up. But, we cannot stop throwing stones. It's part of democracy. So congratulations to all of us, and I wish you more success as you enter the 4th year of the 10th Assembly. Thank you, and God bless.
I had expected a louder applause for the former presiding officer. Thank you so very much. Moving on with the speed that is deserving of this program, we'd like to invite Professor Jake Dan Azumi, who doubles as the Chief of Staff to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, to approach the podium for the overview of the third-year scorecard/performance review of the 10th House of Representatives, the People's House, 2023 to 2026. Professor Jake Dan Azumi, please. A round of applause for him.
The uncommon Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. My task is very easy, and I will do it in just 5 minutes, which is to give an overview of the scorecard of the House of Representatives. Mr. President of the Senate, you probably don't know this. In an earlier life, I made a very comfortable living assessing the National Assembly, and former presiding officers here are very much aware. It was an honest work, and I was never short of opinion. I will always have something to say about Parliament, and development partners always hired me to do that task. Then 3 years ago, Mr. Speaker hired me as his Chief of Staff, and then I made that transition from being a spectator to being a participant. One of the things I learned very quickly was that it's easier to assess, to grade a paper, as we academics do, than to sit for the exams. Therefore, if my own presentation and assessment of the 10th House appears to be a little warmer than you are used to hearing from me, it's not because I have changed my position, it's because I have better experience. And I think the first thing to talk about is that the assessment of the House, that is the scorecard, Mr. Speaker had asked that we should do an honest assessment. We should not hold back our punches. We should have a thorough methodology, a scientific methodology that can be tested, and a document that can be used internationally. And of course, that is what we did, because the assessment is done against the IPU standards. For those of you who are not aware of this, the Interparliamentary Union has a list of items by which they assess a parliament to determine whether that parliament is effective and whether or not it is satisfying and achieving its task. Of course, what you would see very shortly is that this methodology did not flatter the House of Representatives, but it also recognized that the House of Representatives has made significant progress. The first and most important statistics to look at is that the Parliament, of course, is a Parliament of lawmaking. And the 10th House of Representatives when compared with all other houses of representatives from the fourth assembly to now, has recorded the highest number of bills to have been introduced on the floor of any assembly since 1999. A total of 2,747 bills. That is an unprecedented number. In fact, it's almost double the number of total bills that were introduced in the 9th Assembly and in the 8th Assembly at the same time as now. And of course, out of that, 363 were successfully passed by the House. And of course, out of that, almost 72 of those bills have been assented to by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That represents the highest single tally for presidential assent by any president since 1960. Of course, following behind was President Muhammadu Buhari of blessed memories. But most importantly, it's not just the numbers that matter, because the House is very cognizant, and what we intend to show is that these were not simply activities on paper. And we have highlighted some of the key ones. The Students' Loan Act. There is a very good anecdote that tells the importance of this very legislation that was passed by the National Assembly. Just a few months ago, there was a lady who came with her bag, and she was at the entrance of the National Assembly. She had just been kicked out of school because she could not pay tuition fee, and she was a very first-class student, and we ran into her. And of course, through the committee, we were able to make references for her. Today, that lady is writing her final year exams, courtesy of the loan that she got through the Students' Loan Act. There are so many other legislations that I hear that has been passed, which I think deserve commendation. Mr. President of the Senate and Mr. Speaker, recently, when the signing of the Electoral Act took place, there was a meltdown on social media that the President signed the Electoral Act with the speed of light. And it was as if that was a crime. But what this study has shown, and for those of you who have followed parliaments around the world, many times the US Congress sits, especially when there is a risk of shutting down the United States government, they pass a legislation and take it to the White House the same night. And so many landmark legislations in the US, like the CARES Act, were passed, of course, within they were signed within very few hours of passage. There are other ones that we have listed here, which, of course, we won't take too much time. I'm sure that the President of the Senate and the Speaker will talk about those in their speeches. The 7 marks of a democratic parliament. This is the IPU standard, and I have projected it there. The 7 marks of a democratic parliament. That is effectiveness, accountable parliament, transparent parliament, inclusive parliament, participatory parliament, and a representative parliament. And I'm proud to report to all the members of this chamber and to, of course, the public and our invited guests, that using objective parameters across all these 5 to 6 areas that the IPU has said a parliament should be assessed, the House of Representatives across more than 2/3 of those scored more than 3 or 4/5. In 2 places, because the Speaker asked that we should be very, very honest in our assessment, the House scored 2/5. And those 2 places are, of course, issues that have to do with inclusion. If you realize that there are now, of course, another thing, of course, that we must look at, and I have asked that they should check that, is that one of the difficulties and one of the biggest challenges, and lawmakers should take note of this, is the conversion rate. In other words, if you look at the total number of bills that have been introduced, and the total number of bills passed, and the total number of bills that receive presidential assent, there is a wide gap between that. Of course, it's not unique to the Nigerian parliament. In the United States Congress, if you look at the bill progression chart, you realize it's almost the same thing. There are many bills that members just introduce because they need to show that they are constituents. And another issue that came out of this study is the preponderance of establishment bills. That means more than 70 to 80% of bills that are introduced in Parliament, in the House, are still establishment bills. At a time when the government is calling for rationalization of MDAs, that can be a bit challenging due to funding issues. And I think the People's House is not yet at its full strength. I've said that. There are only 15 members, and therefore the special seats bill needs to be given expedited consideration. I think the final verdict President of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, and members as well as visitors here is that the House of Reps is one of the most outstanding since 1999, and it's not a rubber stamp. One of the data that I've asked to be projected is the ratio of private member bills to executive bills. One of the ways you know whether a parliament is a rubber stamp is to look at that ratio. Of the number of bills that have been passed, 9 out of 10 bills introduced on the floor of this house are private member bills. That is a house that is thinking of itself and acting rather than just receiving bills from Mr. President and granting assent. And even where bills have come from the executive, the House has not shied away from amending those bills to cater for what members discuss and agree on the floor of this House. So it's a House that is not yet 100%. It's a House that is in motion, but it's a House that has attempted, probably better than any other House before it, to be accountable to the Nigerian people. The work is not yet over, but at least you can see that some attempts, some movements are made. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Jake Den Azumi, Chief of Staff to the Honorable Speaker. And yes, there we have it, the overview, the performance, scorecard of the 10th House of Representatives. Your Excellencies, kindly permit me to recognize in our midst Chairman, Northwest Development Commission, Lau Samaila Yakaweda. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you for being here. And also in our midst, Alhaji Magaji Sani Tambawal. I hope I got that right. Former clerk to the National Assembly. You're highly welcome. And we want to warmly recognize Commissioners, National Assembly Service Commission, led by distinguished Senator Hong Kui, former, represented by Chairman NASS. Thank you for being here. Your Excellencies, we're gradually coming to the end of this remarkable opening ceremony for NASS 2026. At this point, they said leadership without vision is aimless. And of course, at this point, allow me to warmly welcome a man who is leaving a very distinguished legacy when it comes to leadership, when it comes to transparency initiatives, pushing for that and ensuring that unprecedented legislative volume is well amplified. A man who continues to ensure that there is robust oversight, carrying everyone along. I'm talking about the House of Representatives, a rare parliamentarian. Please, let's put our hands together as we welcome the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, PhD, GCON.
I'm over it.
That's what it does. It will come up and come up.
The President of the Senate, my dear brother, distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, GCON, who incidentally is also Chairman of the National Assembly, the Deputy Speaker, House of Reps, Principal Officers of the National Assembly present here, distinguished Senators and Members of the National Assembly, Executive Governors present, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Chief of Staff to the President and former Speaker of the 9th National Assembly, the former presiding officers of the National Assembly under the leadership of my dear senior brother, Right Honorable Masari, the Clerk to the National Assembly, the Chairman, National Assembly Service Commission and all commissioners present here, the Chairman, Public Complaint Commission and all other commissioners present here, heads of federal government agencies, our dear royal fathers, particularly the Emir of Zazzau, His Royal Highness Ambassador Nuhu Bamali, and His Royal Highness, the representative of Oni of Ife, who is Oba Dr. Olafore Olakaide Ogosamon, who is the Alara of Elaro Ipe. Religious leaders here, ably led by the Archbishop, Secretary General of the Conference of Speakers of African Parliament, our technical partners, core members, students and youth organizations present here, distinguished invited guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Please permit me to begin with a single figure, 2,747. That is the number of bills the citizens of this republic brought before this House in 3 legislative years. It is the highest such volume recorded since the return of democratic rule in 1999. Behind each of those bills stands a Nigerian who believed that the law could better their condition. This morning or this afternoon, I wish to account for how this House has honored that trust. It is my honor to welcome you to the 2026 Open Week of the National Assembly and to the unveiling of the 3rd year scorecard of the 10th House of Representatives. Our theme declares our purpose plainly: the advancement of transparency, inclusion, and more. I address these 3 constituencies at once. To my colleagues, the honorable members whose devotion has sustained this institution through many demanding sessions, I offer my gratitude to all of you. To our distinguished guests, our revered traditional rulers, our development partners, the diplomatic corps members, civil society, the press and the young citizens present, I want to say your attendance honor this House. And to the millions of Nigerians who follow these proceedings from their homes, market and of work. This address is directed above all to you, because this house belongs to you before it belongs to any of us here. Let me discuss briefly about the purpose of this open week. And let me be plain about why we gather. Open week was conceived not as an exercise in self-congratulation, but as an act of accountability. Openness is not a courtesy this house extends at its pleasure. It is an obligation it owes to those it serves. In opening these doors, we affirm one enduring principle, that the making of your laws is your concern, and that you are entitled to observe it, to interrogate it, and to help shape it. No other arm of government submits itself to public examination in this manner, and we do so not with reluctance, but with conviction. Before I speak of our record, candor obliges me to acknowledge a plain truth. We did not begin from nothing. Governance is a continuum, a relay in which no single runner completes the course alone. This house was not born in 2023. Its story begins in 1960, and it has since passed through many able and dedicated hands. Today, therefore, I honor all who have presided over this chamber before us, from the earliest speakers of our republic to those of recent memory. I acknowledge the former presiding officers present with us, among them Right Honorable Patricia Ite, who made history as the first woman to lead this house. And I pay tribute to Right Honorable Femi Bajabiamila, who now serves as Chief of Staff to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I also pay tribute to Right Honorable Aminu Mosari, who served not only as Speaker but as Governor of Katsina State for 8 years. I also pay tribute to Right Honorable Emeka Ihedua, who also served as Governor of Imo State in 2019. Much of what we celebrate this week, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, grew from seeds that they sowed. Today, we are honored to carry that work forward with pride. You have just presented with the full scorecard. Permit me to throw out a few figures, for figures do not flatter. The citizens of this nation submitted 2,747 bills to this house. Of these, we passed 363, and 72 have already received presidential assent and have become laws. These are not lines upon a page. They are measurable and lasting change. These figures represent the highest for any assembly since 1960. One of those laws now offers our young people interest-free student loans so that no Nigerian student is turned away from a lecture hall for want of means. Another has reformed how the nation raises and shares its revenue. Others have created commissions to carry development into every region of the Federation. The landmark statues are not only part of our work. More than 800 citizens have petitioned this House, and we have already brought hundreds of those matters to resolution. Where we have served the nation well, the scorecard records it. Where we have fallen short, it records that also. At our inauguration in 2023, We asked to be measured against our own promises, and we met it. This week is designed not as a lecture, but as a national conversation. And at every table, a place that has been reserved for you, the citizens. Later today, we will hold our first session with civil society to examine how faithfully we have carried out our oversight function. Tomorrow morning, we convene what may prove to be the most consequential security dialogue this Parliament has hosted on the question of state policy. Tomorrow afternoon, we will consider how to bring more women and more people with disabilities into our public life. On the final day, we sit with the private sector and the business community to discuss the laws that create employment and attract investments. I will hand the floor to our young people to confront the corrosion of truth and age of easy falsehood. Permit me a word on the matters that touch our citizens most directly. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR asked this nation to accept a difficult but necessary course of reforms. His reforms were not modest adjustments. They reach into the very foundation of our economy, into how it is financed, how our currency is valued, and how our common revenue is shared and invested in our people. Reforms of such magnitude demand much of a nation, and still more of the institutions charged with carrying them. This is where the record of these 3 years becomes a record of partnership. Every policy of the executive still had to become law, to pass through appropriation, and to withstand legislative scrutiny. That is the indispensable work of this House, or that this House has performed. We laid the legal foundation for the tax reform that will render our revenue fairer for generations to come. We enacted budgets directing resources towards infrastructure, towards power, and towards the human capital upon which all this depends. We gave statutory force to the reform of student financing. The President furnished the vision. The National Assembly furnished the laws that render the vision enforceable. That is the true measure of legislative support, and it is worth more than applause. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, nothing tests a government or a parliament so severely as the safety of the citizen. Let me speak plainly. Our security forces are gaining ground. I will not rest until every Nigerian is safe. Consider one event from only days ago that shows the courage of men and women who refuse to tire, retreat, or accept defeat. In Oyo State, 44 of our citizens, school children and their teachers, were seized from their classrooms and taken into the forest. For weeks, the nation held its breath. Then, through a joint operation of our armed forces, our police, our intelligence services, our civil defense corps, and the local hunters and vigilantes who know that terrain, all 44 were restored to freedom. Some of the gallant officers who entered the forest to secure their releases did not return. And to them, this nation owes a debt that wars can never fully discharge. That rescue was not the product of chance. It was the fruit of every appropriation this House has fought to place in the hands of those who protect our children. Yet the deeper lesson of Oyo is that a nation of this magnitude cannot be policed in perpetuity from a single command in Abuja. On this question, the House has already acted. In the course of the constitutional reform ably led by our Deputy Speaker. This House passed a state police bill and placed the matter squarely before the nation. Tomorrow's roundtable carries that work forward in the open and before you. I'm indeed able to share the development that speaks to the seriousness with which this administration regards the safety of Nigerians. His Excellency, the President has now transmitted to the National Assembly an executive version of the State Police Bill, one that is more robust and more comprehensive than the version this House earlier passed. That bill is the product of a dedicated committee, inaugurated by the President and chaired by a distinguished former Speaker of this House, Right Honorable Femi Bajabiamila. I commend both the President for the diligence and the personal commitment he has brought to this cause. Mr. President, this is leadership of the First Order, and the nation is very grateful for it. The House will therefore recall the version it earlier passed and accord the executive bill the expedited consideration that a matter of this urgency deserves. To the thoughtful citizens and to the members who have observed that they are yet to see the draft bills and who fear that this matter is being settled beyond public view, I offer this reassurance. Nothing here is concealed. The bill will pass through public hearing and open scrutiny, and I give this assurance to every Nigerian. The framework will carry robust safeguards. A state must satisfy clear and demanding standards and safeguards before it may be entrusted with a police service. There will be accountability, the protection of fundamental human rights, and the firm boundaries between federal and state authority, so that no state police force may ever be reduced to the private instrument of a government. We have seen how power conducts itself in the absence of restraint, and we have no intention of repeating that error. This roundtable is our invitation to examine the draft and to submit your memorandum before it becomes law. Your security is far too grave a matter to be designated behind closed doors. Tomorrow afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we turn to a different order of security, the security of belonging. It is an uncomfortable truth that women occupy fewer than 1 in 20 seats in this National Assembly, and that some of our state houses of assembly do not have even a single woman among them. No nation ascends by consigning half of its talent to the margins. The Special Seas Bill is our considered answer, and it carries both the personal conviction of President Tinubu and the tireless advocacy of our First Lady, Her Excellency Senator Olurimi Tinubu, who honors us as national champions for this cause. A reasonable question has been raised whether reserve seats will simply confer position upon a favored few, without the discipline of an election. The answer we bring to this dialogue is the electoral college model. The women who occupy these seats will be appointed by no one. They will be elected by a secret ballot conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission through a college of representatives from whom the people themselves have already elected. From our councillors to our state legislators, to the members of this House and of the Senate, it is a genuine mandate and rather than granted, and it diminishes no existing seats. The measure is, by deliberate design, temporary, a bridge to be crossed and thereafter reviewed. I invite every Nigerian to taste the proposition with us tomorrow and make their contributions. Let me be candid and account for more than our successes. Many of the bills introduced in the House do not advance more than swiftly through their readings. Too often, the first legislative instinct is to establish yet another agency by statute. When sound lawmaking demands that we strengthen the mandate of the institutions we already have and reduce the cost of governance, we have noted this and are correcting it. Constructive criticism is critical to good lawmaking, and this House is open to input from the public. Let me also correct one belief that harms our democracy. Some assume, in good faith, that when the president signs a bill quickly, then the legislature is a rubber stamp. That is not how the work is done. Swift assent is usually the reward of months of committee work, completed long before the cameras arrive. Even the Congress of the United States has, in urgent moments, passed sweeping legislation in a single day, and no serious observer wholly surrender. Speed built on hard preparation is the mark of a parliament that is working, not one that has stopped thinking. My appeal to the citizens who observe us today is therefore a simple one. Draw closer. Acquaint yourself with the true workings of your parliament. Read a bill before you pass judgment upon it. Submit your memorandum when we call for them. We take your submission seriously and consider your input in amending laws. It is for this reason that our young people will gather this week to confront the scourge of disinformation and to lay claim to their voice ahead of 2027. A democracy is made strong not by those who applaud it from a distance, but by those who step forward and take part. Open Week is the hand this House extends as I ask you all to take it. Let me also acknowledge an undertaking of this scale is never the achievement of our House alone. I record the gratitude of this House to our partners, from the National Assembly Library Trust Fund and the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center to the Foreign Commonwealth and the Development Office, the European Union, IAGA Africa, International IDEA, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, and the Frederick Ebert Stephen. Your confidence in this institution is a trust we do not hold lightly. I must also pay tribute to the Senate under the wise and steady leadership of the President of the Senate, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio GCON. The Red Chamber has proved a true partner in every national task we have undertaken. His statesmanship, his warmth, and his instincts for consensus have rendered the labor of a bicameral legislature not merely possible, but genuinely fruitful. On behalf of this House, I salute him and every distinguished senator, and I thank him for graciously consenting to declare this Open Week open. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Before I conclude, distinguished honorable members, I would want us to all rise and remain standing for 1 minute to commemorate the death of our members, our senators who died within the last 3 years, and we have plenty of them. From the record I have here, we have lost Senator Impiki Barinada, River Southeast, on 19th of February 2026. We have lost Senator Godia Akwashiki Nasarawa North on the 31st of December 2025. We lost Senator Patrick Ifeanyi Uba, Anambra South, on the 27th of July 2024. We have lost Senator Ekechukwu Ize Enugu on the 18th of November 2025. From the Green Chamber, we lost Honorable Abdulkadir Jelani Dambuga, member representing Isa Sabumbirni Federal Constituency on October 11, 2023. We similarly lost Honorable Ikene Abubakar Adams, member representing Chikun Kajuru Federal Constituency on Tuesday, 16 July 2024. We lost Honorable Isa Dukonyaru, member representing Bakura/Garki Federal Constituency on Friday, 10th May 2024. We also lost Honorable Prince Akiremi Olaide Adewale, member representing Ibadan North Federal Constituency on Wednesday, 10th July 2024. We lost Right Honorable Adewumi Oriwumi Onanuga, member representing Ikene Shagamu Remo North Federal Constituency of Ogun State, who died on January 15, 2025. We lost Honorable Hayabo Chitongo, member representing Gombe, Kwami Punakaye Federal Constituency of Gombe State, who died recently on June 12, 2026. Last but not the least is Honorable Mohammed Danjuma Hassan, member who represented Dawakin Kutu, Wara Federal Constituency of Kano State, who died on April 10, 2026. Distinguished honorable members, our invited guests, this is a moment for all of us collectively to commemorate their death and also pray for their soul to rest in peace. So with your kind permission, let's all rise and let's rise and observe a minute of silence in their honor. Thank you. May their soul rest in peace.
And thank you very much, the Right Honorable Speaker. I'd like that we please give him a very big round of applause that is deserving. Just before the President of the Senate, having been invited, comes to speak, listening to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, it is said that a thriving democracy is one where every voice is represented. The conversation around special seats for women indeed reflects our collective aspiration to building a more inclusive legislature where the perspectives and contributions of women are fully reflected, and we appreciate you. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to acknowledge and recognize a statesman whose leadership continues to redefine legislative excellence in our dear nation, a bridge builder, a courageous patriot, an astute administrator, the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, whose uncommon transformation earned him the enduring title of the Uncommon Governor, former minority leader of the Senate, former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, and now the Uncommon President of the Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a leader whose commitment to national unity is inclusive and democratic consolidation continues. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise with me. With great respect and honor, let's welcome to the podium, warmly, distinguished Senator Godswill Obota Akpabio, GCON, the Uncommon President of the Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly. Your Excellency, the Uncommon President of the Senate, sir.
You may be seated. My brother, the Right Honorable Speaker, this microphone recognizes you also. Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, CON, the Speaker of the 10th House of Representatives. Let me very quickly also recognize the Deputy Speaker, my brother Ben Kalu, principal officers of the Senate, distinguished senators, principal officers of the House of Representatives, Your Excellencies, the governors and their representatives, Your Excellencies, past presiding officers, particularly my brother, Aminu Bello Masari, who happens to have been a speaker before becoming a governor. Probably I should have come to be Senate President before becoming governor. But he's a great statesman and a father. So let me use him as a point of contact to recognize all past speakers and all past presiding officers. The members of the diplomatic corps, represented by our friends, ambassadors, starting from the ambassador of the United Kingdom, the High Commissioner to Nigeria, of course, the ambassador from Algeria, the ambassador of the European Union, and all others. We're happy to have you today. The clerk to the National Assembly and principal heads of the different arms of the National Assembly. We have the closing speech of the Speaker. It stabilized me. I don't know we had so many people that died in this 10th National Assembly. Whilst we mourn and continue to mourn the loss of 4 senators, I did not know that you had so many that had passed away in the House of Representatives. The lesson there is that we are all mere mortals. Just 3 years, the number of people that have left us. So it's a food for thought that death is no respecter of age, no respecter of any constituency, whether senatorial or House of Representatives. May their souls continue to rest in peace. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't know, with this invitation to me, I recognize that you also have done so well. I saw a young student there from secondary school, and of course I've seen our traditional fathers, I've seen members of the clergy, like our Cardinal Onaikom, who is always responding to things that have to do with national unity and cohesion. Lord, on behalf of the National Assembly, we thank you and all members of the clergy for coming to join us on this open week of the House of Representatives. Before I go into any address, I'd like to inform the clerk of the House of Representatives and the clerk of the Senate, in front of the permanent secretaries of both chambers, and the head, the clerk of the National Assembly, my brother Kamaru, that this open week is worthy of emulation by both chambers. In other words, from next year, I'll discuss with my brother that we can have a joint committee that will pull all of us together so that we will not be sitting while you are doing your open week, because I had to leave the sitting to come and attend to this invitation, which I believe is very important. This is the People's House. So I would like to have the People's National Assembly. It takes two hands to clap. Whatever you pass here, we must also concur. When we concur, after the conference, we then forward it to the executive for assent. So in other words, your success is my success, and my success is your success. The success of the Senate is the success of the House of Representatives, and the success of the House of Representatives is the success of the Senate. Therefore, I will not repeat the number of legislations or bills that were passed, those that have been assented to, because, of course, once it is assented to, it means both of us worked on it. Am I right? So, both chambers. But I must applaud you for your patriotism. Even in difficult times, times of happiness, times of sadness, you still turn up to carry out your national functions. So for your patriotism, I'll say congratulations to all of you. And of course, I'm saying this in a coded manner, that whether or not all obligations in respect of constituency projects were met or not, you still turn out in your numbers to do your constitutional functions. In other words, they are selfless. They are not selfish. They are not thinking of yourself. They are thinking of Nigeria. That's why we can gather like this in our numbers. But I want to assure you that myself and my brother, we are not sleeping. We are working very hard with your principal officers, appropriation, finance, and others to ensure that all obligations are met. But first, we also insist that Ministry of Finance, all those running our economy, should also take care of our contractors across board so that money will be released to the society for things to function. So, in absentia, I want to recognize the President, very friendly to Parliament, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR. He has visited us more times than former presidents. Whether it is June 12th or whether it is the time of budget, he comes here in person and always very excited. I think a lot of people, like the distinguished Senator Sani, will understand why. It is the first time in our democratic system that we have a former senator as a president, a former senator as a vice president, and of course, a former senator as a first lady, and even a former member, a former speaker, presiding officer as chief of staff, all occupying the villa. So I think this is our time. Test of the fruits. So I thank the President for his commitment to the nation. I also want to thank members of the armed forces. Mr. Speaker, in the course of rescuing the 46 children that were in captivity for over 56 days, we lost a couple of gallant officers. We lost Lieutenant Isaac Efe, we lost Private Silas Musa, we lost Sergeant Abena John Jerome, and a lot of them were wounded. One of them very fatally wounded, the person of Corporal Adamu Hussein, and so many others. So it was not without paying a price. Many paid the supreme price for those children to come out. But the rescue of those children is an indication that government is not sleeping, that government is working around the clock to ensure that we can sleep with our two eyes closed. Now, as we discuss in this open week of the People's Parliament, we'll also discuss what we should do to the victims' families, those who lose their lives, pay the supreme sacrifice, and prices in the course of serving our nation. So I may say, may their souls rest in perfect peace. So distinguished colleagues, Right Honorable Speaker, courts administer justice in the name of the people. Governments exercise executive authority on behalf of the people. But Parliament alone deliberates, debates, and legislates under the watchful eyes of the people. Before they design seats for legislators, they always have reserved seats. This will be space for citizens, but they do understand that timeless democratic truth that Parliament is not a theater of performance of all sorts. The Parliament is the place to cater for the interests of the people. Therefore, you can rightly call it the people's institution. So, I also salute those in the gallery who are watching us today. That's why today, and indeed, this open week matters a lot. These walls were never meant to keep Nigerians out. They were built to welcome Nigerians, not merely as spectators of democracy, but as the rightful owners of these chambers. Mr. Speaker, and my dear colleagues, Your Excellencies, I want to say that words are not enough for me to express how gracious and how happy I am for the invitation extended to the Nigerian Senate. You are a great patriot. You are a worthy partner in nation building. I will resist the temptation today of paying too much compliments to the Speaker of the House of Representatives. I'll resist. Because if two presiding officers spend the whole time praising one another, Nigerians may conclude that Parliament has become a mutual admiration center rather than a working legislature. So I will not praise you today. I would rather say I salute you. Thank you for this initiative. We are assembled today for something far greater than either chamber. Parliament belongs not to those elected to sit within it, but to the millions whose hopes and votes brought us into existence. Parliament was never built to keep the people out of it. It was built to keep the people in, to bring them in. But democracy flourishes only if the people have confidence. And what we are doing with this open week is to keep the people informed. Because when they are not informed, you are deformed. We have to engage the citizens and let them know what we are doing here. I read all sorts of things on the social media, and sometimes I will shake their head. On my head, I will say, I wish they knew what we are passing through. Senator Shehu, I want to congratulate you as you have your ticket to come back in 2027. So come back and join us. Sometimes parliaments may fight, they may struggle, but at the end they agree. But I will put it on record that this 10th National Assembly, the House of Representatives and the Senate, we have never had cause to fight. This is the most peaceful and most productive assembly that we have had since 1999. And this is the truth. From the number of bills assented to by the President and even the number of bills and motions introduced within the floors, the two floors, I want to let you know that our people are very vibrant. And most of these things come from our constituencies. So, yes, it's not really from us. They will say, we want this, we want that, we want that. The President has been able to transform Nigeria from a mono economy We are no longer depending on crude oil to pay salaries. We are not depending on only one source of revenue. Today, most of the states of the Federation are able to do projects. They are able to pay salaries without necessarily going to the banks to borrow. And in fact, the cost of borrowing now is horrendous. But I can tell you that this president inherited less than 700,000, which was not more than one month fact, that he has been able to keep the economy growing to a point where now they share up to 2.1 trillion in a month among the states. And sometimes we, the old governors, we wish we were governors at this time, with so much money going to the states. We have also been able, outside the tax laws, that now many citizens are now paying their taxes. From even the Electoral Act that we passed, you can see not so many people were killed, if any, in many of the states of the Federation during these primaries. But we shall tinker with the Act again to make sure that we are not the victims of our own actions. I don't know whether you are getting the point, because I understand many members and many senators were overwhelmed by the leadership of the various constituencies, let me not say states. And at the end of the day, we seem to have made a law against ourselves. But I assure you that we shall tinker with it so that past future members and future senators will not have difficulty coming back. Because the more a legislator comes back, the more experienced he becomes, and the more the country benefits from his activities. Therefore, this open week will not only be merely a matter of public education. It is actually what I may regard as a democratic necessity. And that's why I thank our foreign partners. I thank also the diplomatic corps and our rural fathers and our clergy for joining us. And I insist that we try to come together so that our past Senate presidents will also join the queue and rank and file of the current or past speakers to make this debate or this open week more robust. So our constitutional architects understood very well what the expression of democracy means. They designed a parliament that protects both democracy and federalism. In the House of Representatives, representation is determined by population. But in the Senate, every state sends 3 senators, and this speaks with the same constitutional voice. That is the genius of our bicameral legislation, and we have been able to mix it in a way that whenever you take a decision here, we also adopt it there. Even when we go on recess, it's the product of cooperation and discussion between the leaderships behind your back. I'm just trying to tell you why it coincides. That is why I want this one to also coincide as part of our calendar commencing from next year. Therefore, openness means more than allowing citizens to observe proceedings. It means assuring every Nigerian that no community is too remote, no voice is too quiet, and no corner of this republic is too insignificant to deserve representation and attention. My colleagues, this open week is so important to all of us. We invite Nigerians not merely to observe us, but to engage with us, not merely to applaud us where they agree with us, but to challenge us. They should challenge us where they believe we can do better. A parliament that listens becomes wiser. A democracy that listens becomes stronger. Ultimately, a parliament is judged not by what it says, but by what it does. Principles acquire meaning only when translated into actions. That has been the standard by which the 10th National Assembly has sought to justify the confidence that Nigerians have placed in it over the 3 years we have been in office. Within that period, this National Assembly has passed the numerous bills and motions mentioned by Mr. Speaker. That conviction has guided us to work harder, to strengthen our laws against terrorism and insecurity, because every Nigerian deserves to live in safety. We enacted measures to return out-of-school children to the classrooms. Of course, those who were unable to access tertiary education today can do so. Mr. Speaker had explained through the NEL fund passed by this National Assembly. We cannot mortgage the future by abandoning our children at home. We modernize our tax laws to build a stronger economy while protecting ordinary Nigerians. Approve a new national minimum wage in recognition of the dignity of labor. Advance investment and industrial legislations to stimulate enterprise, ease of doing business and employment, and establish regional development commissions so that every part of our federation would have a stronger institutional platform to pursue development and address long-standing challenges. In exercising our constitutional responsibilities of screening, confirming public officers, the Senate has remained mindful that public life and public office is a responsibility that must demand competence, integrity, and character. Every confirmation has been approached with the seriousness that such constitutional responsibility deserves. So sometimes people criticize that, oh, you are too fast. Should we be slow? They will say, oh, you are too slow. And at the end, they will say, oh, in fact, let me give you an example. This constitutional amendment on state police, a lot of people are not aware that we have worked on it for the past 2.5 years. We've gone to all the regions in Nigeria. We have done public hearings across board. Both chambers have been up and doing in retreats in Kano, in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, everywhere. But immediately it was passed, they said, oh, they just sent the letter yesterday, and the next day it was passed. They wouldn't understand. But through this open week, I'm sure we are going to explain to them the processes that we have to go through for every bill to get to the point of becoming an act of parliament. So beyond our borders, Nigeria has reclaimed a stronger voice within the global parliamentary community. Our return to the Executive Committee of the Inter-Parliamentary Union after nearly 6 decades reflected renewed international confidence in Nigeria, and that is in Nigeria's democracy, Nigeria's institutions, and reaffirm our commitment to parliamentary diplomacy. It has also ensured that Nigeria once again is recognized globally. Meaningfully, I must say that the whole world stood still when the president of our country paid a historic visit to the United Kingdom and visited the king. That, for us, remains a turning point in Nigeria's international recognition. Today, so many companies are trying to invest in Nigeria because of the confidence of the current administration has brought to bear, and because the parliament has worked with the executive to create the enabling environment for doing business. So let me also, Mr. Speaker, permit me to welcome the Deputy Senate President and the leaders of the Senate, Senator Opayemi, Senator Mangunu, and Senator Adaramodu. I'm sure they must have closed. They just came to support me. So welcome. You're arriving at the right time when I'm trying to give my speech. So, and distinguished leaders, on your behalf, DSP. Okay, distinguished Senator Mangunu, The Speaker said from next week you should resume in the House of Representatives. Please. That they are missing you as their then Chief Whip. You would love to do that. I'll declare you as it figured. So you are welcome. This is the friendship that we are talking about. The two houses are not different from one another, and we work in close collaboration. So, well, if I did not mention him, it means that my eye did not catch him. Before the presiding officer would recognize you to speak, his eye must catch you. So, distinguished brother and former speaker, Dogara, if I did not mention your name, know that my eye did not catch you. So, but I recognize you. Because my sister, Patricia, the speaker had actually eloquently mentioned all of you. So I stand by what the speaker did. I stand by the protocol that he was able to establish. My job here actually is very simple. Let me speak directly to all Nigerians today. Whether you are with us today, whether you are watching us, the proceedings are also online, and many of you are here in chambers. Some of you are listening on the radio, some of you are watching on television. It is not an easy thing to make a law. Pray and support your lawmakers. You can see the number of them that have already passed on within just 3 years. Pray also, as you pray for the nation, pray for your families, also pray for the lawmakers to survive. May God guide us and keep us safe. So, right, DSC, welcome. Let me quickly close so that we can go ahead to plan for the next item of the agenda. I want all of us to attend these public hearings. I want all of us to attend this open week. Please try and read the laws we make. You can question us after you have finished reading the laws. You can also challenge us. I saw somebody, a professor on television, and he was blasting and lambasting the National Assembly for the passage of the tax bills. And he said, imagine 4 bills all at once. So he said they just passed it. They are a rubber stamp. So I sent the text to one of the compères, and they asked him, which particular section of the act are you against? So that we can discuss it to see whether they made a mistake. And the professor said that he had not read any of the acts. And they said, but you've been talking for almost 40 minutes condemning what they have done. He said, yes, because I'm on social media, and I read these things from social media, the comments people are making. And he said he had not read any. So sometimes, before you comment on social media, take time to go through what we have actually done. Our job here is to do and ensure that we make laws that will last for generations. We are not making laws for ourselves. We are making laws for the protection of Nigeria's future and for generations unborn. So I want to encourage all of us that democracy flourishes when citizens remain active participants in the work of the parliament. The distance between parliament and the people should never again be measured in walls or gates, but only in the willingness of citizens to walk through those doors and join us in crafting legislations for the survival of our nation. And now, the moment for which we have gathered. On behalf of the National Assembly, particularly the House of Representatives of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and with profound gratitude to Almighty God, it is my singular honor and privilege to declare the 2026 National Assembly Open Week officially open. To the glory of God. May this week deepen public trust. May it strengthen the bond between the two parliaments and also the people. May it remind every Nigerian that democracy is perfected not by silence, but by participation, not by buildings, but by citizens, and not merely by the laws we pass, but the confidence that the people have in those laws and in the institutions, and particularly for the executive on how you implement the laws. For in the end, the true measure of Parliament is not the height of its walls, but the depth of its people's confidence. May God bless the House of Representatives. May God bless this open week. May God stop further deaths in both chambers. May these people mentioned who have now gone to the great beyond, may they be the ones who sacrifice themselves for the rest of us to survive. Can we say amen? God bless the House of Representatives, and God bless the National Assembly, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I thank you all.
Just quickly recognize the presence of a Deputy President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Barao Jibrin CFR. We welcome you. Recognize the presence of the Leader of the Senate, distinguished Senator Dr. Michael Okpeyemi Bamidele, CON. We welcome you. The Chief Whip of the Senate, distinguished Senator Mohammed Tahir Monguno. We welcome you. As we also recognize the presence of distinguished Senator Saliu Mustafa. We welcome you as well. At this point, Your Excellency, we'll take very quickly the vote of thanks. It is after the vote of thanks that we'll be inviting you. Senator Yemi Adaramodu is also here. We'd like to welcome you, sir. I'd like to then invite the Minority Leader of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Frederick Agbedi, to please move the vote of thanks on behalf of the House of Representatives, and after which we'll be inviting our leaders to the unveiling point. Honorable Agbedi, please.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, let me adopt the already established protocols and say my job is simple, is to say thank you to all high, low, man, woman, men, women, and young ones who have come today to honor this open week of the National Assembly organized by the House of Representatives. It is necessary that at least I point out some of our leaders in appreciating them for coming to honor this invite. Your Excellency, the Uncommon Senate President, and the Chairman of the National Assembly, on behalf of Mr. Speaker and other members of the House of Representatives, we want to sincerely thank you and appreciate you. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the leadership you are giving to the House of Representatives. The Deputy Senate President, we appreciate you and welcome you. Thank you very much. The Leader of the Senate and other principal officers and senators of the Senate, we thank you very much for adjourning your sitting and coming to still join us, in these green chambers. We want to also use this opportunity to thank the Right Honorable Speaker of Delta State and the Chairman of the Sub-National Speakers for representing effectively the Committee of Speakers of the Sub-National. We appreciate you. We want to use this opportunity to also thank our traditional rulers who have come here to honor, particularly the Emir of Zazzau, Ambassador Ahmed Nu Mbamali, and other traditional rulers across the nation who are here. We thank you very much for coming to honor us. Our great father of the faith, Cardinal John Onayikon, retired. We appreciate you. Thank you very much for this honor. Our diplomats and other partners with Nigeria, we want to thank you very much for coming to support us in this time that we feel that we should have an inclusive session with Nigerian public and others. We want to thank you very much. The clerk and in the strata of clerks, from the clerk of the National Assembly to the clerk of the Senate and House of Reps and other clerks in that hierarchy, we want to appreciate you for coming to make this a successful day. The civil society organizations, who have always partnered with us to ensure that, to ensure that we are supported to do our work effectively. Our former presiding officers, a number of them, I passed through them, I passed through their tutelage. I want to thank you again. We believe in your leadership, and we are always ready to work with you and follow your counsel to make sure that we serve Nigerians better. Our partner organizations that have supported us in making this program a success, the plaque, who is massively represented here, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, we thank you very much. The European Union, YAGA Africa, International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, the EU, and other organizations that partnered with the Assembly to make sure that this program was, brought to bear. Our Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Rivers State, apologies. We acknowledge you and want to thank you and say our warm greetings to the Governor of Rivers State and the good people of Rivers State, from where I came to the House of Reps in 1992. And then to the President of Nigeria Bar Association, a very important organization, we want to thank you. NASIMA, Nigeria Institute of Public Relations, NPI, and Medical Association, we want to thank you for this opportunity. Our youths, the NYC members, and the school children, who we used to say are the leaders of tomorrow, please pray and start leading us from today, because any society without the young ones is doomed. So we appreciate you for coming. The organizing committee of this program, the Open Week, we want to thank you. All invited guests, and as well as our staffs who behind the scene has contributed enormously to this program being a success, we want to appreciate you. And we thank God that we are here today, and we hope to be here again next year. Thank you, and God bless you.
All right, that signals the official opening of the National Assembly Open Week 2026. In the next 3 days, lawmakers will be having series of engagements with a cross-section of Nigerians who will be interrogating and scrutinizing legislative activities as they border on national issues. There will be a meeting with civil society organizations on oversight and delivery exchange, as well as a national security and traditional rulers roundtable. Lawmakers will also hold a national dialogue on electoral college model for special seats for women and persons with disabilities. You can be sure that the Nigerian Television Authority will keep you abreast with the outcomes of these engagements. And that does it for the opening of the National Assembly Open Week. I am Mitaire Ikwen, and on behalf of NTA's outside broadcast crew, we thank you for watching as we hand you over to our studio for a continuation of the day's program.